to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson, and wow, it's finally here. Texas Tech Red Raider football fall camp is set to open Friday, August 7th. I thought it would never get here. Finally, some real football to talk about, and I want to talk about some of those main storylines heading into fall camp around Red Raider football. I think first, before we actually get to the football talk, I have to mention, of course, Corona. The coronavirus is going to be the number one storyline around the country from coast to coast in how it affects college football. The ever-changing season that is hopefully going to be played. Of course, recently, as of this filming, the Big 12 announced they were going to play the +1 model, the 9 conference games plus 1 non-conference each. Each non-conference game will be at home for the Big 12 schools. So I think with that, it looks like Texas Tech's schedule has changed a lot. I think it might. Matter of fact, I'm willing to bet it will between now and kickoff. Looks like they're not going to be playing UTEP. Of course, 2 other games were already canceled against Alabama State and Arizona earlier this summer. I think the leading candidate to be that +1 for Texas Tech in Lubbock is Houston Baptist, if they have a season. So if Houston Baptist has a season, I believe they'll be coming to Lubbock, and it'll probably be September 5th or September 12th is what I've been hearing a lot of. And then Texas Tech will play their Big 12 schedule. Now, I don't know that the schedule is going to be the same. I don't know if it's going to be what we have right now. Like, I don't know if they're going to open against Iowa State, all that. We're just going to have to see how it plays out. But it's set to be announced in the coming weeks. Kind of finalize the schedule. So I think just getting through fall camp without there being more confirmed cases would be huge. I think there'll probably be some. It's contact sport and all that. There's going to be some more around the country, but as long as it's not, I don't know what that number would be, but as long as it's not deemed out of control, and God forbid one of these athletes don't really come down sick and have to be hospitalized, and I'm not even going to go even further, but as long as nothing like that happens, perhaps they'll get through fall camp and we'll actually have a season. That's going to be, following that, it's going to be storyline number 1. Now, finally getting to football, thankfully, storyline number 2 for me is going to be the quarterback room, quarterback play. In the spring, head coach Matt Wells announced that there was an open competition between Alan Bowman and Maverick McIver. That spring was cut way short. Talking about 2 guys coming off major injuries, multiple major injuries. It's been well documented. But Alan Bowman is who I expect to be the opening day starter. Now, things have been complicated. That room has expanded. Added another scholarship quarterback in Donovan Smith. He's a true freshman from Friendship, but son of Coach DeAndre Smith, the running backs coach. I saw him play a couple times. Very talented. Big arm, very athletic, definitely a dual threat kind of guy, who I think has a bright future as a Red Raider. But in terms of for this upcoming season, I like McIver. I like his arm. He had a bulky knee brace on from that injury he had at San Angelo Central as I believe his senior season. So. I have to give the nod to Bowman there, but seeing how it plays out, seeing how each quarterback performs, is something I'm going to keep an eye on. And then the big monkey wrench thrown into it is the recent transfer addition from Utah State of Henry Colombi. All right, Henry Colombi, 6'2", 205, dual threat quarterback, recruited by David Yost to Utah State. Was a backup the last 2 years to Jordan Love, who was, oh, by the way, drafted by the Green Bay Packers in the most recent draft in the first round. So David Yost has recruited Colombi twice. So he likes Colombi. I actually interviewed Henry, and he sees a wonderful opportunity here to play for a Power 5 team under coaches that he knows wants him and that he likes, and an offense he's comfortable with. So there's that pesky issue of having to get a waiver because he's not a grad transfer. He's a regular transfer. He doesn't have a red shirt either. So if he's granted the waiver, he'll have 2 seasons, his junior and senior season, starting immediately this upcoming season. But if not, he'll have to sit next year. Now, if he's granted that waiver, he has a really good opportunity to challenge for playing time. I don't know about opening day starter, but throughout the season, he has a real opportunity to earn playing time. So that's going to be, to me, I want to see he's in town. He's ready to go for fall camp. I want to see what Columbia can do, and we need to find out if he's going to get that waiver or not. But I'm excited to see what's going to happen from that room. There's definitely an influx of talent there. Let's see what shakes out. The next storyline I'm following, the third one, is going to be how does this offensive line come together? They lost 3 longtime starters from a year ago up front, including both tackles. They brought in grad transfer Josh Berger, who's taken a step up from the FCS level at Wofford to, obviously Power 5 football. But look, Wofford played Clemson last year, and I watched almost that entire game and some of his high school clips going way back. And this guy, he can definitely hold his own. He was holding his own against future NFL players at Clemson. He actually led his team that day with the most knockdowns, which I think he had 11 knockdowns against Clemson, knockdown blocks. So there you go. And I didn't see him get beat for a sack or anything. I mean, Wofford got smoked by Clemson, of course, but he actually helped spring a couple of plays down the field. So I like him at one of the tackles. There was a couple of injuries last year, which allowed some younger guys to play. One of them being Casey Verhulst at tackle. And I think, Tech played okay in those games, and they were able to move the ball in the games that he played. So I think those are your tackles, starting tackles. I think there's going to be some competition from some younger guys. They actually do have good numbers, some guys they've been developing for years. But I think Verhulst and Berger, the new transfer, those are your tackles. You bring back Jack Anderson, who missed a lot of the season, who redshirted last year, but he's an all Big 12 caliber player. Dawson Deaton at center. He was your best offensive lineman last year. I really like him at center. I think he's a potential all Big 12 type player as well. And then the other guy, younger guy who got some opportunity to play since Jack Anderson was hurt last year, was Weston Wright. Now, the book's still out on Weston Wright, but he had some good games. He had some really good performances, and he had some performances, I think, that were learning opportunities for him against some good defenses in the Big 12. So whether people in the SEC and Big 10 believe that or not, there are some good defenses in the Big 12, and he had some up and down moments there. I think Weston Wright can be the guy at left guard on the other side of Dawson Deaton from Jack Anderson. So I think that could be your starters. Like I said, they have some guys they're developing coming up that have been around for a couple of years, so they're not just youngins. And I could see it going either way. I could see this actually being, you're replacing 3 offensive linemen, but they overachieve and they have a lot of success, or I could see them really struggling and it being a big learning curve for everybody. So, it's going to be interesting to see how offensive line coach Steve Farmer, Mark Tomerdahl, another offensive line coach, Coach Canova, what those guys do at that position group, how they develop those guys, because that could tell the tale, no matter who the quarterback is how the offensive line does this upcoming season. All right, now switching over to the other side of the ball, another position group, another storyline I want to mention is defensive backs. What's going to happen there? Because let's be honest, that was the weakest position group last year. I mean, you had a couple of draft picks in your front 7, including a first-round draft pick in Jordan Brooks. Now, I'm not saying there weren't holes there, but secondary, specifically at safety, they were had. Now Adrian Fry's moved back to corner. He's opposite Zach McPherson. For my money, Zach McPherson was the best defensive back on the roster last year. Very good cornerback, former 4-star guy, grad transferred from Penn State. I feel really good about Fry back at corner, former freshman All-American, and Zach McPherson, very good player. You have DeMarcus Fields playing in the nickel there, who I like DeMarcus Fields. I'm not saying he's a lockdown corner by any means, but he's a playmaker. He's made some big plays for you, pick 6 type plays for the Red Raiders in Big 12 games. So I like Fields. I think if he could take a next step, all of a sudden you feel really good about your starting corners. And you have some, like I said, you have some young guys coming up there too. And then safety. All right, look, you brought in grad transfer Eric Monroe, former highly rated guy from LSU, to be kind of a center fielder. And then you have a bunch of guys they haven't done it yet. Thomas Leggett, Adam Beck, who I actually like a lot. Jamarcus Ingram is another guy I like a lot. Rabbit, Dadrian Taylor. I can never remember his name because I just call him Rabbit. Dadrian Taylor, he was really thrown out on the fire as a freshman at safety after being a historically good running back in Oklahoma for his whole career. But for him to be thrown out there because they needed him to play. So we'll see if Dadrian Taylor can take another step at safety. But so they have a lot of questions. We'll have to see how that secondary comes together. And I don't think we'll get any answers in fall camp, but you want to see them at least tie, right? You want to see, Texas always has a pretty talented group of receivers. You want to see them make some noise. So I definitely have my eye on how the defensive backs are doing. And then finally, and I've mentioned it touched on it in some of these other position groups, but Tech has brought in so many transfers, all grad transfers, some traditional transfers, and then a bunch of junior college transfers. Guys that are going to be, a lot of them are going to be starters, if not starters in the 2 deep. They're going to play. They're going to play a lot. And how are they going to put all this together with the returners, and not to mention, of course, the high school class, who they're bringing in as well, who they brought in, who a couple of guys are going to have to play, like the Taj Brooks. He's going to have to play at running back. So how are they going to mesh all these guys? How are they going to come together in such a short time, in such an unusual season? That's going to be another really key storyline and tell the tale of how the Red Raiders do in the 2020 football season. And that's assuming, and hopefully there is a 2020 Red Raider football season. So fingers crossed with that. And with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.